Have you ever seen $430 million evaporate into thin air? Mike Tyson was earning $1.5 million for every single second of a fight, but he ended up with $5,000 in his pocket and a debt of $38 million. How did the baddest man on the planet lose the most important fight of his life, the fight against his own wallet? Let's find out. Earnings. To understand the crash, we first have to look at the peak. In the late 80s and throughout the 90s, Mike Tyson wasn't just a boxer. He was a human printing press. His wealth didn't come in small paychecks. It came in tsunamis. Take his 2002 fight against Lennox Lewis. For just a few minutes of work, Mike's purse was $103 million. If you do the math, he was making more money per heartbeat than most doctors earn in a decade. When you earn at that speed, money loses its meaning. It stops being a tool for survival and starts being a toy. Mike lived in a state of financial anarchy. He didn't just buy a nice car. He bought a fleet of 110 luxury vehicles. Bentleys, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. They were scattered across his various estates like discarded candy wrappers. There are legendary stories of Mike leaving a brand new Bentley in a parking lot just because it had a flat tire or a scratch, and simply walking away to buy another one. He wasn't just wealthy, he was disconnected from the very concept of cost, spending. Now, let's walk through the specifics of the spending spree. This is where the numbers get truly painful. First, let's talk about the tigers. Mike loved pigeons as a kid, but as a millionaire, he decided he needed something with a bit more bite. He spent $210,000 on 3 Bengal tigers. But buying a tiger is the cheap part. Between the specialized enclosures, the massive amounts of meat, and a full-time professional trainer, these tigers were draining $200,000 from his account every single year. And then there were the incident costs. When one of his tigers reportedly bit a trespasser, Mike had to write a check for $250,000 just to settle the lawsuit. It's hard to save for retirement when your pets are literally eating your savings. Then came the bathtub. Most people show their love with jewelry or a nice vacation. Mike bought his first wife a solid 24-karat gold bathtub for $2.2 million. It is perhaps the most expensive way to get clean in human history. Think about the maintenance, the insurance, and the sheer lack of resale value for a $2 million piece of plumbing. And we can't forget the parties. For his 30th birthday, Mike threw a bash that cost $500,000. He invited 700 guests, many of whom he didn't even know, and paid for every single drink and steak. At this rate, even a mountain of gold starts to look like a molehill. Management. But Mike wasn't the only one with his hand in the jar. Every tragedy needs a villain, and in this story, his name is Don King. King was a master of creative accounting. He didn't just take a standard promoter's fee, he built a system of ghost fees that bled Tyson dry before he even saw a check. King would charge Tyson $100,000 per fight as consulting fees paid to King's own wife. He'd charge another $100,000 for his sons. There were fees for travel, fees for training, and fees for things that didn't even exist. By the time King was done, he was often taking up to 50% of the money. In 1998, Mike eventually sued King for $100 million, claiming King had been cheating him for over a decade. It was a classic case of the fox guarding the henhouse. While Mike was taking punches in the ring, King was taking the profit in the office. Collapse. By 2003, the gravity of debt finally caught up. The IRS, the American Tax Service, doesn't care how many tigers you have or how shiny your bathtub is. They wanted their cut of the $430 million. Mike owed $38 million to creditors and the government. It turns out you can't pay the taxman in autographs or championship belts. When Mike declared bankruptcy, the world was shocked. The man who could knock out giants was financially paralyzed. He went from $400 million to $5,000. It was a total collapse. He had spent his money on people who didn't love him and objects that couldn't support him. He was effectively homeless compared to the king he once was. Recovery. But here is where the story changes. Most celebrities hit the bottom and stay there. Mike Tyson did the opposite. He performed a total financial reboot. He realized that even if his bank account was empty, his brand was still worth millions. He stopped trying to be the scary guy and started being Uncle Mike. He started with small steps. Cameos in movies like The Hangover showed the world he had a sense of humor. He launched a massive podcast, which proved he was a deep, thoughtful person who had learned from his mistakes. But the real game changer was his pivot into the cannabis industry. While the exact monthly profits are a closely guarded secret, industry experts estimate his brand now moves tens of millions of dollars in products annually. He isn't just a former fighter anymore. He's a mogul who successfully sold his own redemption. Current. The ultimate proof of his comeback happened just recently. In November 2024, Mike stepped back into the ring for a global event against Jake Paul. That single night brought in a massive payday, pushing his net worth back into the $30 million range. He's a millionaire again, but this time the money is staying in the bank. There are no Bengal tigers, no gold bathtubs. Mike Tyson finally realized that the most expensive thing you can buy is peace of mind. Today, he surrounds himself with family and actual professionals, not a swarm of consultants looking for a handout. Lessons. So what did we learn from this financial autopsy? First, math hits harder than a heavyweight. If you aren't counting your dollars, someone else will count them for you, and they probably aren't planning to give them back. Second, never buy anything that eats more than you do, whether it's a tiger or a mansion with 21 bedrooms. If the maintenance costs more than your soul, it's a bad deal. And third, your name is your ultimate asset. Even at zero, Mike Tyson was still Mike Tyson. He just had to learn how to respect his own brand. Respect your money, or it will find someone who does. Stay rich, and more importantly, stay smart.